Welcome back. I'd like to think we took a summer break, 20 plus years, like a Ferrari, always going 100 miles an hour plus, is sometimes you need to be at a Honda and be happy with that. This is a new version of me, a more energized version who's seeing things a little bit differently. Welcome back to the Alex Perry on Fire podcast. And I say back because we've definitely taken a break. I'd like to think we took a summer break. And the summer break wasn't because I was out doing things and didn't have time for the podcast. It was really because I was recalibrating, giving myself time to find energy again for this podcast and other things in my life. And that's just brutal honesty. And so when I say a break, it's hard to understand exactly what that means, because I'm still living my day-to-day life, working out, selling real estate, connecting with people, vacationing. I think what happens, or at least what happened for me, is it's understanding the value system I had with those particular things. At one point in my life, the value was really, really placed on work and what that brought me, and it was all work. And through this journey, I put much more value on connecting with people and being present and slowing down, really slowing down. But your mind and body don't work at the same pace as when you're making that change. So as you're doing that work, and for me, it was 30 plus years, or maybe that's a little aggressive, but a long time, let's just call it 20 years, or even back into school, 20 plus years of just knowing a certain speed, almost like a Ferrari, always going 100 miles an hour plus at everything. And learning that to live and be a different mindset, a different way of being present and available and connecting, is sometimes you need to be at a Honda. And be happy with that and just slowing down. But you can't just snap your fingers and do it. It takes time, it takes practice. And not only that, your body doesn't react to that. And so you're challenged with putting yourself in different situations to see how you'll react to it, and how you'll grow and change from it. And the example I might give is I booked a 2-week trip to Europe, where for the first 10 days I was by myself. It was actually 17 days. And the next week I was with a brother and a friend. And that first 10 days, I thought I would love being by myself and exploring London and Spain and Portugal. And I guess I just wasn't ready for what that looked like, just being by myself, sitting with myself, not using what I would call disassociatives when I was bored, social media, partying in some sort, and other things that we would use when we were feeling uncomfortable, or I would use when I'm feeling uncomfortable. And so when I thought that would just be the easiest trip of my life and a vacation in the greatest parts of the world, it wasn't. It was really difficult. And what was difficult about it is that I used to just work when I was bored. And if then I wasn't doing it, I'd go out and have fun till 4 or 5 in the morning and rinse and repeat that. But what happens when you don't feel like going out till 4 or 5 in the morning, and then you don't have the work at 8 a.m. to keep you busy? I had to figure out a way to find energy in myself. And there's a process in that. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm still working on that. And so when I say like I needed to take a break or vacation, it's learning or relearning or training your mind and body to work in a way that slows down, then feels comfortable with sitting. So I'm excited. I can tell you that this is a new version of me, a more energized version, a more conscious version, and also just someone who's seeing things a little bit differently, good or bad. It's a better way to have guests back on the show and reevaluate where they're on their journey and also where I am on my journey. It's one thing, and the first episode I ever did with a guest, not my brother, was Andrew Welker, and we talked about balance and basically column A and column B, and column A being work and column B being almost everything else. And what I found is that it's so easy to talk about it. It's another thing to embody it and embody it almost on the daily, or in basically every aspect of your life. And so I did a good job about talking about it. I did a good job on understanding it, but I didn't necessarily, or I can tell you quite honestly, I was not living it. And I think once you decide that you want to live it, it's such a different level of working on yourself. And again, you can talk about patterns in your family, and understand the patterns that have been shown to you or the ones that you're living, but then trying to fix, and I don't want to say fix, but understand, change, alter, work around them. That is next level. And so, really subconsciously, I fell into it. I understand them, but I was kind of, and some people call it like spiritual bypassing or some other way of of understanding them, but not really diving into them to a point where it would change the way I saw the world or was, living or doing things or operating. And when you jump into them, it rocks your nervous system because you're so used to doing things a certain way, or I was so used to doing certain things my way, and controlling it my way. And there's a lot of good that comes from it. There's a lot of, uh, if you're working, you can get a lot more done without distractions. It can streamline your life, but at the same time, you get comfortable in the way you do things, and so therefore, to change becomes difficult. And because it's just the way I do things, I don't know how to do it slowly. I don't know how to not jump in head first. I don't know how to go all in, not go all in. And that's what I did. I went all in. And what I like to think is, if you look at a pendulum, at one point in my life, the pendulum was so far up here on the left, so far. Work, 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 play, but still be working while I'm playing and controlling my environment as much as I can. And endorphin hits at any level, at any time, as much as I could, and pretty much ignoring anything else that might be challenging in a emotional way in my life whatsoever. Recognized that was probably not the best way to go at it. And in time, I swung the pendulum, but I swung it really hard the other way. And I think if anyone's ever measured something out, they can recognize it's almost nearly impossible to get it right the first time. And if you do get it right the first time, even then, you might play with going too far the other way to make sure that you do have it balanced right. And that's what I did. I swung the pendulum really hard the other way. I think it's good from what I've talked to people, and there's so many ways to see it, expanding and contracting, the fall and the rise. Like the greater you fall, the more you can rise. The more you contract, the more you can expand. And so, although extremely difficult, and I would say the most difficult work I've ever done in my lifetime's 10, I'm now on the other side of moving the pendulum back, and that feels so good. It feels so energized. It feels like all the work that I did was worthwhile. I like to say it felt, and it still does, but it felt like I was standing with one foot in a canoe on one side and another in the other, and neither were sturdy. And so you don't know whether to lean left or right, and everything just feels wobbly. And as I talk to you, the audience today, they feel like they're solid and I'm moving and I can paddle and I can paddle. And before it was just literally a standstill. And that's the reason I wasn't on the podcast. When you don't feel right, you don't know which way to move. And I can sit here and tell you right now, I feel comfortable. I have confidence. A lot of the words my twin brother brought up, but they're just real. Content with where I am in my life, but also trusting in the universe again, trusting back on the path that I'm on and where I sit right now. And that is so powerful. It's energetic, it's powerful. It gives you what I like to call your voice back, and it's authentic. And so now I'm ready to start again. I'm ready to bring guests back on. I'm ready to have my brother back on, and I'm ready to be real with you. And that's fun. And I think what I can also tell you is I'm bringing this back into my life, but not just in the form of a podcast. I'm excited to meet with people again or just have conversations, whether it be a minute, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. And I'm learning so much more about myself, but also other people in that journey. And what I would say is, what I've also really learned, and I think is so valuable, is to not discount the time that you've already put into something um, without necessarily seeing where that is. And what I mean by that is, like, I've done 18 years of real estate, 18 years. And there's times when I've been burned out and maybe would have cashed out if there was something like personally I could have. And that would have been a mistake. Sometimes you just need to slow down and recognize the time that you've put into something, and that that's enough, and that you can build off that. And what I mean by that is exactly what I did with the podcast. I spent a year uh, learning how to talk in front of the camera, learning how to interview guests, uh, learning different ways of asking questions. I still have so much to learn. But rather than saying, okay, this was difficult, I put so much time into it, I'm a little tired of it, and saying I'm done, took a break, reevaluated, took some time, and now I'm energized by it. So it wasn't, okay, I'm done with that. It was just give myself some time. And I met with someone the other day um, who's been doing hair for 9 years. He's a hairdresser, and said he wanted more out of life. He felt like there was something that, he wasn't using his abilities enough. And what I told him is, you're probably really good at what you do. It would be a long journey to set that up in another industry, but realize how you can use what you're doing there and parlay it into something that gives you more connection or more meaning or more purpose, without necessarily saying, I'm done with that. Because going back to it would be very difficult if you said I was done with it. And sometimes we're not done with it. We just need something to energize us. And so that's what I'm learning. And also on top of that, when things get tough and things or get hard, or they lose their luster, or it just becomes monotonous, what I'm really, really, really learning and enjoying is just, and I've said this before on the podcast, is get back to the play, get back to the things. Things are not as serious as they seem. They're really not. And I can sit here and tell you, because I've been through some very difficult things in the last couple of years. And I've shared them with y'all. But as long as we wake up, as long as we have people around us that we love, as long as we can laugh and enjoy the things we're doing, we will be okay. We will be okay. And we come out the other side. And as hard as it's been, where I sit right now, I understand that when you're feeling bad, or your body feels like it's changing, or your mind is not operating it like it used to, instead of trying to figure it out like a puzzle, if you can sit with it, you will release it. You'll feel good. And at that point, you can understand a lot more what's going on. What I was doing was, something didn't feel right, and I was trying to solve that in my brain over and over. Why am I not feeling right? Right. And it literally, the feeling doesn't go away when you have that. It just compounds it. I like to call it like the compounding effect of, like, something that's 2 times 2 is 4. And that's not nice, but easy to deal with. 4 times 4 is 16. Again, not great, but easy to deal with. When you times the 16 by 16, that becomes really hard. And I don't know what that number is, but it's a large number. And if then you compound that, whatever it may be, 600 times 600, it's nearly impossible. And that's when we spiral, or that's when it becomes too much. And literally, if you can stop it when it's 2 times 2, because that's always going to happen, or 4 times 4, and tell yourself, slow down. It's probably not the story you're telling yourself. It's not doomsday, etc. It's just a place to operate from and grow from, and then you feel good again. And talking through a lot of people, this happens. So I'm excited. I'm excited to come back to you with the energy I have today. I'm excited to be interviewing new guests with a different perspective on life. And I'm excited to share the voice I have back with y'all and myself. Quite honestly, and I think it happens sometimes, you lose it. Things happen in life. It can shake you. It can make you question things. And I'm telling you, I ventured into a new realm of what we can call spirituality. And it was something that I did not know very well. And you have to trust a lot of people along the way, especially when it's in a place that you don't know. I know real estate really well, and I know some other things quite well. That's this other side of life I didn't. And um, sometimes you just need to trust your intuition. You need to trust the things that make you you. And along the way, give yourself compassion, the fact that you will trust other people. But getting back to what makes you you, what fires you up, what puts you in a place of flow, um, that's a lot of what this podcast is about. It's probably a lot of what this next season will be about. And it is a different season. Um, the summer was not necessarily vacation for me. It was a lot of learning and growth. It was so much personal work that it did not feel like a vacation. Um, a vacation for me is relaxing. It's enjoying almost every moment, being in the sun, laughing, playing, uh, just being in complete flow with disregard for a lot of things that stress you out in your daily life. It was anything but that. And I kept waiting and hoping that it would be a vacation. It's not. When you're working on really heavy, deep personal things, it will not feel like a vacation. Um, and I think fighting that makes it worse. Understanding that when you are putting so much work into yourself and trying to change habits that may be 1, 2, 10, 20 plus years, that will never feel like a vacation. And it shouldn't. Hard work is hard. That sounds dumb, but it's true. Like putting in hard, difficult work is not going to feel easy. That's why it creates change. Otherwise, it would be easy. Everyone would go do it. We'd mess ourselves up and then we'd change it. And that would be easy. It's not. Some things are easy, but the work I'm talking about is really difficult. And you don't need to dive into the most difficult things. You can take it in phases. I just dove in deep and took it all and said, if we're going to get this over with, let's go. And so that was my summer. It was incredibly hard. Going back and learning family patterns that are not serving you any longer, or even other things that weren't family, but just childhood or things that I did after college or other things to disassociate or, train my brain to think a certain way. Breaking that is really difficult. But where I stand right now and talking to y'all, I am energized. And so it feels like a completely new season. I think we have a couple months, as I know, to end the year. And I always get energized by how we're going to finish the year. And I'm going to finish it with y'all. There are going to be a lot of guests. We're going to keep going on this journey together. And I thank you for listening. Welcome back to the Alex Perry on Fire podcast. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Alex Perry on Fire. It means so much to me and the wonderful team that makes this all possible. I'm now passing the flame to you. Please follow, like, and subscribe so you can always stay up to date. Thanks again, and stay fired up.